أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. O Lord, show us the good as good and help us to stay with it, and show us falsehood as falsehood and help us to stay away from it with your mercy, O merciful one. وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Happy Saturday. Inshallah, we are all doing great and getting ready to jump into the subject for today. A little brief recap on our journey thus far. We just concluded the ninth word, which was an expounding on the meaning of prayers and what does it mean really for a human being to respond to his source of existence, about all the experiences and human feelings, and pretty much acknowledge one's position as a traveler in this universe. And we're continuing on in this traveling journey now. So let's start with thinking a little bit about what does each passing moment mean for me, and what does really this undeniable end result that we are all faced with every day. Doesn't matter how old you are, 5 years old, 16, 25, 40, 60, 65, 80, 90, and yeah, I was reading about someone 106 years old. So, it seems like the numbers are increasing. And so a number is just a number, but I think we all have this notion of, death. Kids know that too. We have perhaps pets that we saw die, pass away, people we know, even especially these days, we're hearing so much in the media. And it's a reality that we live with, but how much do I pay attention to it, or really what do I mean from my existence, really? Because everything then boils down to those burning existential human questions that we are all faced with in terms of where am I going? And like, here I am given existence, but like, really, what is the end result? What does all this mean? And I just felt the need of bringing this on the table before we jump into this new topic that the inshallah author is going to help us walk through in terms of what does my existence point to. And interesting title, Resurrection and the Hereafter. Doesn't matter where we come from, what background. We all have this notion of the hereafter as well, growing up watching Disney movies or even any kind of movie, and even we can apply that case to ourselves as well. There's this notion of, oh, happily ever after, that's it, something, because the human being long for something permanent, eternal, happiness. Definitely, transience does not satisfy the human being. Where did yesterday go? Where did last weekend go? Where did the summer go? And like, what are we experiencing now? Even the different feelings that are imparted onto us, joy, sometimes sadness, sometimes I have no idea, how to explain this feeling. So how do I make sense of it? And can I not just be in a state of eternal contentment just while I'm journeying here? And so I think before we delve into it, as well as just keep also in mind of, everybody thinks about death, but it's really how much am I paying attention to it? So, like, I don't know, it'd be good to have this in mind, like, what is the end for me in terms of what's next? So yeah, death, okay, but what, how do I make sense of it? Just to a little bit bring the case in terms of what the human condition is here. Like nobody can escape death. So, and with this, inshallah, let's see how the author is introducing this text to us. And obviously, he'll be starting with the Quranic verse. Inshallah, we can a little bit just briefly look into it and then jump into the subject. Again, we are reading from the 10th word, which is on page 59. Bismillah. The 10th word, resurrection and the hereafter. Note, the reasons for my writing these treatises in the form of metaphors, comparisons, and stories are to facilitate comprehension and to show how rational, appropriate, well-founded, and coherent are the truths of Islam. The meaning of the stories is contained in the truths that conclude them. The meaning of the stories is contained in the truths that conclude them. Each story is like an allusion pointing to its concluding truth. Therefore, they are not mere fictitious tales, but veritable truths. Okay, this is a nice refresher or approach to how to read the universe in general, and specifically the speech of the creator of the universe. So by definition, the speech of God claims to be the speech of the creator of the universe. And so the author is preparing our mind in terms of how to approach it. So it's like presented to us also in story form, metaphors, so we can really apply the case to our personal life conditions. And the author is also mentioning how he's going to present us with the text as well. And it's interesting also how he's pinpointing that the meaning of the stories is contained in the truths that conclude them. So obviously there's always a conclusion to any event that we experience. And so everything that we encounter, we make sense of it, we conclude a meaning from it. So, and I'm just going to borrow his words as well, each story is like an allusion pointing to its concluding truth. So pretty much what does anything that we interact with, we come across, what does it point to? And when I'm able to make this connection, it's really a conclusion that I derive at. All right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. Look then to the signs of God's mercy. Look then to the signs of God's mercy. How he restores life to the earth after its death. How he restores life to the earth after its death. Verily, he it is who quickens the dead, for he is powerful over all things. Verily, he it is who quickens the dead, for he is powerful over all things. This verse is taken from the Quran, chapter 30, verse number 50. Okay. So it's interesting also just to look into a little bit keywords in the verse here. I see signs, God's mercy. So pretty much I think we can all apply the case to ourselves in terms of the quality of mercy that we experience day in and day out. And so that's somehow like a sign. Anything, any quality that we experience, any feeling that's imparted onto us. And we can, I know we're coming from the 9th word right now, journeying to this, transitioning to this 10th word. And so like even noticing existence or just anything, any kind of what we call bounty or gift that are bestowed onto us, it's a sign of mercy. Our waking up this morning is a sign of mercy. The sun rising and just us breathing is a sign of mercy. I guess there are innumerable signs that we can relate to and utilize it as a sign of mercy. Okay. And so from here, we have how he restores life to the earth after its death. So definitely keyword death. We can say that, yeah, we do experience death, mini death, a very obvious one. Every night we go into a mini death state, and then we're restored back to life in the morning, just like last night. And then this morning, we observe obvious seasons as well, summer, winter, and then everything looks barren. The trees are very apparent. And then spring comes, like, wow, everything is renewed, restored. And same thing with our spiritual side as well. There are moments we feel rejuvenated, refreshed. And so we can say definitely there are signs of death that I, as the human being, experience here. And verily he it is who quickens the dead, for he is powerful over all things. Definitely there's a lot that can be unpacked from this one. He it is who quickens the dead, as in shaking up the dead. So perhaps me being in a state of heedlessness, my spirit being really in heedlessness, and so something that I encounter suddenly alerts my consciousness. And how can I explain it? That's also a sign that points to the mercy of the creator of the universe. So just some brief general quick highlights from this verse. And with this, I'm just going to check in if anyone has anything that they want to add, any burning expressions or comments that you want to make just based on what has been shared and read. Feel free to do that at any point. And there's a raise hand button at any time. If you want to express yourself out, you can use that. I'll quickly scan the room. Okay. All right, so I guess let's get ready and read this piece.
Can I say something? I raised my hand in a funny way, so.
No worries. Go ahead,
I'm
please.
so sorry, sorry. Uh, okay. Uh, all the points were excellent. I'm happy to hear all of them. I would like to add one word to the key words in the verse, if you don't mind. This is how. Now, since we are going to talk about the resurrection, it means hereafter, after we die and the universe is destroyed, there will be another creation. I have no experience of it. I don't know. How can I believe that such a thing should happen, or if it is going to happen? Why we are usually presented this kind of matter, saying that God created this universe for this purpose, and He lets us know that He's going to resurrect us, and there must be the reason why, not how. Why God says there will be life after death, and you are going to be resurrected. It means you are going to be given another existence, type of existence, and you will be taken into a day of judgment. I mean, it's not wrong at the same time, but what the Quran says, I'm going to talk about or give you the news of a new creation, but of course, you have no experience of it. So you need evidence whether it is possible, not because that you are questioning my power. I mean, after accepting God can create everything, you can say everything. It means speaking from God's perspective. But in order to have the necessary evidence, we have to speak from our perspective. So my creator must speak to me from my perspective. Look, he must tell me that, Ali, look, if you want to understand, really, I'm going to create a resurrection. So you can look at the way I am creating in this world and how the things are brought into existence. So you can understand that the way they are brought into existence will be evidence for you to understand that, yeah, there must be another uh, existence. It means I shouldn't go into annihilation, but there must be another kind of creation, act of creation. In order to be able to say that there must be, then uh, I will say, okay, show me the evidence so that I will confirm it. Not because, oh, you are God, of course, but people say, yes, there's a in religion, people believe in God. So they say, God can do everything, God can do everything, but how can I know? Really? So they need concrete examples. That's why while we are looking for an evidence for something which is beyond the reach of my capacity, my understanding capacity, in order to confirm this message, in order to confirm this message, I have to have practical example in the creation. That's why the Quran says, okay, look at look at the earth. When it is winter, everything dies. And look, out of a seed, small seed, simple seed, all the seeds look like each other. And out of, in fact, one cell, I create the same thing again. It is being created again. It is a demonstration for you to pay attention so that you can see that it is happening in front of your eyes. Just pay attention to it. Thank you. I think
Thank you very much, Brother Ali. That was very helpful in terms of how really to utilize anything that we come across. So the practical examples, we can obviously take them as evidence to conclude that there must be definitely a restoration of life to what I observe here. And the seed example is always amazing in terms of how exactly does it transform into different stages from a sampling to a small plant and tree that bears fruit. And similarly, the human being as well, in terms of how we see the development of small cell embryo womb of a female and then coming into this universe and then getting ready to depart for another type of existence. So yeah, all these signs are all around us. So alhamdulillah. Any other comments? Okay, so inshallah, let's move on with reading the text. Brother, if you wish for a discussion of resurrection and the hereafter in simple and common language, in a straightforward style, then listen to the following comparison together with my own soul. Once, two men were traveling through a land as beautiful as paradise. By that land, we intend the world. Looking around them, they saw that everyone had left open the door of his home and his shop and was not paying attention to guarding it. Money and property were readily accessible without anyone to claim them. One of the two travelers grasped hold of all that he fancied, stealing it and usurping it. Following his inclinations, he committed every kind of injustice and abomination. None of the people of that land moved to stop him, but his friend said to him, "What are you doing? You will be punished, and I will be dragged into misfortune along with you. All this property belongs to the state. The people of this land, including even the children, are all soldiers or government servants. It is because they are at present civilians that they are not interfering with you. But the laws here are strict. The king has installed telephones everywhere, and his agents are everywhere. Go quickly and try to settle the matter." But the empty-headed man said in his obstinacy, "No, it is not state property. It belongs instead to some endowment and has no clear or obvious owner. Everyone can make use of it as he sees fit. I see no reason to deny myself the use of these fine things. I will not believe they belong to anyone unless I see him with my own eyes." He continued to speak in this way with much philosophical sophistry, and an earnest discussion took place between them. First, the empty-headed man said, Who's the king here? I can't see him. And then his friend replied, every village must have its headman. Every needle must have its manufacturer and craftsman. And as you know, every letter must be written by someone. How, then, can it be that so extremely well ordered a kingdom should have no ruler? And how can so much wealth have no owner? When every hour a train arrives filled with precious and artful gifts, as if coming from the realm of the unseen. And all the announcements and proclamations, all the seals and stamps found on all those goods, all the coins and the flags waving in every corner of the kingdom, can they be without an owner? It seems you have studied foreign languages a little and are unable to read this Islamic script. In addition, you refuse to ask those who are able to read it. Come now, let me read to you the king's supreme decree. The empty-headed man then retorted, well, let us suppose there is a king. What harm can he suffer from the minute use I am making of all his wealth? Will his treasury decrease on account of it? In any event, I can see nothing here resembling prison or punishment. His friend replied, this land that you see is a maneuvering ground. It is, in addition, an exhibition of his wonderful royal arts. Then again, it may be regarded as a temporary hospice, one devoid of foundations. Do you not see that every day one caravan arrives as another departs and vanishes? It is being constantly emptied and filled. Soon the whole land will be changed. Its inhabitants will depart for another and more lasting realm. There everyone will be either rewarded or punished in accordance with his services. That treacherous, empty-headed one retorted rebelliously, I don't believe it. Is it at all possible that a whole land should perish and be transferred to another realm? His faithful friend then replied, since you are so obstinate and rebellious, come, let me demonstrate to you with 12 out of the innumerable proofs available that there is a supreme tribunal, a realm of reward and generosity, and a realm of punishment and incarceration, and that just as this world is partially emptied every day, so too a day shall come when it will be totally emptied and destroyed. All right, let's take a pause here, and we can share out a little bit our takeaway from this little comparison that the author shared about two different aspects of the human being. How we are all experiencing our pretty much existence, and how, like, what do I make of this in terms of how do I see it as far as my usage of it is concerned? How do I utilize it? Am I cognizant of the fact that it's being brought into existence every moment? And I think we can really start with some practical examples in terms of what we do on a daily basis. Like we eat food, we all can relate to food. So when we're eating anything, how much do we pay attention to the actual source of that food? So pretty much, even like we reading this book right now, definitely there's no denying that this book must have an author. And similarly, we are swimming in this universe, and so can I deny the fact that this universe must have an author? I think that's really the question that is being posed to my human side. That, hey, can you deny the fact that this universe must have an author? And we can really, practically speaking, bring the case to our day-to-days in terms of anything we do, our routines. And I think the food example is something that we all share. And yeah, I think pondering more over that side in terms of, first of all, recognizing that this universe must have an owner, an author. And so if that is so, then what is my responsibility here? Or what is it that I ought to do with everything that's given to me? Because let me tell you something, nothing is free anymore. Like, even there's no such thing as free lunch, especially the economy we live in now. Perhaps a decade ago, you could go to some events and there would be free lunch. But now, in this day and age, oh no, there's no such thing as free lunch. So this message that the author is sharing should be very vivid and very practical in terms of how can we make sense of that case. And I have a friend here, inshallah. Let's hear from him.
Yeah, thank you. So, very simple story, as to understand, straightforward, as the author kind of hinted at it in the beginning. And as you said, basically, how to see the world, look at the signs, as the verse was saying. Basically, look is important to observe and see what's going on. And how am I living in this world? This is basically the part where he says, I don't believe it. Is it at all possible that a whole land should perish and be transferred to another realm? This is a good question that I think everybody can relate to. Like, hey, is it really going to happen? There is death, but is there really a resurrection? Will I go to a supreme tribunal or something that whatever my actions, whatever I have done, are they going to be meaningful? Do they signify anything? Or can I just live here without seeing that there's an owner? For example, in one of the early paragraphs, he was saying that, there's surveillance, continuous surveillance, as if you're like in a country where, they're watching each and every step of you. But I mean, besides the political point, but it's not in a negative way. But there's each and everything that we do, whatever is happening, is meaningful. It matters how we utilize our free will, as you mentioned. Something to be aware of, mindful of, that seeing that this whole universe is not there by itself. Like when you look at the qualities, as he says, the train comes as if the spring comes loaded with all sorts of different things. It's a metaphoric way of saying that, how the spring and all the different varieties of fruits, plants, vegetables, flowers, all sorts of different rejuvenation things, activity is going on. So who is organizing that? Who is arranging that? So don't pay attention to those things, because those are these signs that you will see as evidence like whoever is in charge, you get to know the qualities of that being who is bringing all those things into the way they're being arranged into existence, the way all the, he says, the announcements and proclamations, and all the seals and stamps found on all those goods. So all those, each and every being, each and every good that is coming in, has all the signs, is full of art, and it brings news of who the maker, the owner of that thing is.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Exactly. Thank you for elaborating further on the point that is being made in this comparison presented by the author. So it's really something for the human being to reflect over, like, how do I explain what I observe? And definitely there's constant continuity of existence that I observe as well, in terms of things coming, departing, different stages of existence of any object here we can observe and relate to, including ourselves. Really, what happened to baby you, really? And how did, this whole, how do I explain this, not transition, like transformation also from stages to stages? Where did yesterday go? Where did a decade go? Where did, all this go? And really, can that be without any purpose? Can all this that I'm experiencing right now, can this be without any purpose, meaning, or owner? Really, I think we can all pretty much, I guess, easily conclude that there must be an owner to all this that we experience here. But then now we need to go further in terms of meaning and purpose, because if something is in existence, then definitely it must have a purpose, can't be meaningless, valueless. And I think same goes with the human being as well. We definitely must have some higher meaning and purpose than we think that the human being has. And so I think, good points to really look into what the human condition here is, and how can I really apply my observations here and pretty much extract some meaning as to form a conclusion. All right, let's check in to see with everybody here on the chat if anyone wants to express anything out, any comment, or if you have a questions, feel free to participate and chime in. Okay, let me just quickly scan the room. So I guess we can.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it is straightforward, right? So we can
continue
with the first aspect. Exactly. Okay. Right. So first aspect is highlighted. So page 61. First aspect. Is it at all possible that in any kingdom, and particularly so splendid a kingdom as this, there should be no reward for those who serve obediently, and no punishment for those who rebel? Reward and punishment are virtually non-existent here. There must therefore be a supreme tribunal somewhere else. Okay. It's an interesting rhetorical way of attracting my gaze in terms of what I observe. Definitely, there's injustice every step of the way that we can experience, relate to. Oh, that was unfair. Oh, he got away with murder. Like, how did this happen? Like, and like all this that we experience cannot be just meaningless, cannot be just left like this. Otherwise, this existence would be a really sad, pitiful state if all that we're experiencing doesn't have meaning. So I think bringing these qualities of justice, and sometimes we experience the lack of it, like injustice, and so just experiencing this feeling definitely points to a need of seeking justice in its full sense, a need of a place where justice is manifested in infinitely or in absolute terms. So I think now reconciling this need for justice and this need for really experiencing it in an eternal form now opens up the gate for further exploring all these feelings that I have, both inside of me and external to me in terms of what I observe in creation. So is there anyone who has any comment on this first aspect? Okay. If not, then let's did anybody wanted to say something? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brother Ali.
No, yeah, I'm sorry. I cannot raise my hand in a proper way. So, in the story, the story is simple, but the meaning is deep. Why? Somebody is alias. Okay. Oh, for example, one may say, "Look, I'm not stealing anybody's property, so why do you talk about the punishment?" Of course, this author speaks from existential point of view. What does it mean? I mean, not stealing the property of another person, or I don't know, damaging his reputations or his honor, etc., insulting him. No, it's speaking from the existential point of view. So I understood that this punishment and reward in this kingdom of the universe is according to the stealing of the property of the real owner of this universe, and saying that, no, this is what I did. This belongs to nature. This belongs to causes. No, there is no owner of the universe or originator of the universe, but it is accidentally happening, or it happened to be by itself. It means stealing the property of the owner of the universe. Like saying that this book, or yeah, maybe there may be a meaning in it, but this meaning belongs to the paper and the ink. Not there is no author, so of course copyright the law comes and punishes you. So the law, this book has an author, and you have to acknowledge his copyright. So now the universe is under the option of the human choices, whether we can say the real owner is this and acknowledge it. And you may ask the owner with his permission, acknowledging that it is your property and it is prepared, or the universe, all the things that I am benefiting from the universe is prepared and presented to me by you, the owner of the universe. So can I use it, as we have been studying thus far, in your name, acknowledging it. No, don't steal it, saying, no, it is just there's no owner. It happened to be by itself like this. That what the materialist worldview claims. And the author says, in a figurative way, stealing the property. So you must be really taken into account and punished because you insulted the owner as you steal the property of another person. uh, Everybody agrees that you need to be punished and you have to give it back. If you don't give it back, then you will be, put into prison. So that is what I wanted to mention. Why the author speaks about reward and punishment. Obedience, as the word says, who serve obediently or really rebel against the owner of the universe. How do we rebel against the owner of the universe? By not acknowledging it. When you don't acknowledge it, for example, if you come to my house, this is my house, it's an example, and you take something from it, from my house, and put it in your pocket and walk away, I will say, hey, what are you doing? But instead, if someone comes to my house and says, Ali, I like this piece. Would you mind if I take it with your permission? Would you give me the permission to take it with me? Can I benefit from it? If I am generous, which is not the real case, I would say, oh yes, please, because you asked for permission, but without acknowledging it. That's why the previous sections we have been reading, the author was preparing our mind to understand that this is not I would just say, as you use the expression, I would repeat it, this universe is not a free lunch. Yes, you can benefit from it. The price we have to pay is just to be honest and acknowledge, ask for permission. As we said, as we were reading the Bismillah, say Bismillah and have it acknowledged. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah, that was great. Thank you for sharing your reflections. So definitely bringing everything at an existential level in terms of acknowledgement. Am I recognizing the owner of the universe and everything that I'm using in it? So versus if I'm just saying, oh, it just happens to be like this. I think the acknowledgement part is key here. As far as this piece that the author is mentioning in terms of reward and serving obediently, rather than just usurping it and not acknowledging. So that would be a basic, pretty much what he's referring to, rebellious attitude that deserves punishment. In terms of experiencing the consequence of such attitude. Thank you. Anyone else has anything to say, make a comment on? Okay. So let's read up the second aspect, inshallah. Second aspect. Look at the organization and administration of this kingdom. See how everyone, including the poorest and the weakest, is provided with perfect and ornate sustenance. The best care is taken of the sick. Royal and delicious foods, dishes, jewel-encrusted decorations, embroidered garments, splendid feasts, all are to be found here. See how everyone pays due attention to his duties, with the exception of empty-headed people such as yourself, such as myself. No one transgresses his bounds by as much as an inch. The greatest of all men is engaged in modest and obedient service with an attitude of fear and awe. No one transgresses his bounds by as much as an inch. The greatest of all men is engaged in modest and obedient service with an attitude of fear and awe. The ruler of this kingdom must possess then greatly a generosity and all-embracing compassion, as well as at the same time great dignity, exalted awesomeness, and honor. Now, generosity requires liberality. Compassion cannot dispense with beneficence.
Without.
Compassion cannot dispense without?
I would say without.
Without, right? Yeah. I think there's a typo here then.
Yeah.
Compassion cannot dispense without beneficence. And awesomeness and honor make it imperative that the discourteous be chastised. But not even a thousandth part of what that generosity and awesomeness require is to be seen in this realm. The oppressor retains his power and the oppressed his humiliation. As they both depart and migrate from this realm, their affairs are then left to the same supreme tribunal of which we speak. Okay, interesting aspect. Does anybody want to share out their immediate impressions from this second aspect?
Quite a few points, I would say, here. Right? I mean, relating to what Brother Ali also shared about seeing who the owner is of this, whatever we are doing, whatever being recognition, as the first aspect kind of hinted at, and here also paying attention to how everything is being taken care of, organized, administered, and the best care taken for the sick, and how he, uses literary devices again, royal and delicious foods, giving it so that I can pay attention to the foods that we eat, that they are gifts coming again from the one who owns the universe. So with his permission, I am enjoying all those gifts. Decorations, embroidered garments, splendid feasts are all found here. Then I'm just in the reading also in the page, see how everyone pays due attention to his duties. So this is the responsibility of the one who is obedient, pays attention to whatever they're doing, his duties. And the empty-headed ones will not pay attention. So the one who is obedient doesn't exceed the bounds, whatever is within the permissible, whatever the owner has allowed them to entertain themselves with, enjoy them, get the gifts that they want with his permission. Yeah, they don't exceed any of that. Everything is obedient service. Whereas the stealing is without recognition and goes on. Hey, nobody cares. It's just, I'm free to do whatever I want here. Then he goes into, I think this in the half, he says, the ruler of this kingdom must possess then great generosity. Since whatever I'm observing, I'm seeing as an obedient, like everything in the universe is, if you look at the plants, the birds, the trees, they are pretty much very obedient, right? Especially the trees and the plants and the skies, everything. Only the ones with the most free will have the choice to either be obedient or not to be obedient. Whereas the other things in creation, the air, the atmosphere, everything is, the laws that are operating are all obedient. The way the sun rotates, comes and down, goes, the earth rotation, the solar system functioning, everything is very obedient. So all these qualities that are being observed are happening all at the same time. The arrangement, the organization, the mercy, the compassion, everything is happening at the same time. And generosity requires liberality. Like you cannot restrict generosity. It just spreads generously. It requires that. So same thing, compassion requires beneficence. Compassion implies that, to benefit everything, that is part of compassion. So every being, nothing is neglected. Everyone can enjoy the compassion and benefit from it. Awesomeness and honor make it imperative that the discourteous be chastised. Honor and awesomeness should reward the ones who are obedient. And there should be justice, as you were saying initially, that whoever ignores it, hey, how can they be equal to the one who is obedient? It's not fair, right? So the oppressor retains his power and the oppressed his humiliation. But in this world, based on the free will of individuals, my free will, you can see that whoever's oppressing someone, could be the head of the country, could be the head of the institution, could be whoever is in the leadership position, maybe with the power, the one who holds power can become an oppressor, can become a pharaoh, and retains that. And the one who is the subjects, or who are the citizens or the normal people, are have to deal with this kind of injustices that they are being exposed to. So, and both of them, they both depart and migrate from this realm. Everybody has an end. Nobody can say, I can live here forever. The one with the power, his power will not stay here forever. And the one who is being subjected and is suffering will not stay here forever also. So that requires that there must be a supreme tribunal. There must be justice upheld. If it's not in this world, because in this world, you may see partials here and there, but you want complete, as you said, infinite justice. You want that, hey, according to how the actual owner of the universe, you want his justice in complete form. That's what the Supreme Tribunal would be.
Alhamdulillah, thank you. That was very helpful. Going from all the qualities that we observe, and then our needs and what we desire and what we feel and experience, and the two different kind of attitude in terms of acknowledging the owner of this universe and versus not acknowledging, cannot be at the same page, or cannot be facing the same consequence, or cannot be rewarded equally. Alhamdulillah, that was great. Thank you so much again for sharing these points. We are at time, so what we can do is we can stop here for today, inshallah, and next week we can pick up from the third aspect of this 10th word. Alhamdulillah, this was very beneficial to the soul. Thank you all for coming in and participating.
It will be a long journey.
Yes.
This 10th word.
Definitely, inshallah. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. Glory be unto you. We have no knowledge save except that which you've taught us. Indeed, you're all knowledgeable, all wise. وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين بحرمة